right, so welcome to this deep dive. And today we're going to be looking at something you see and use every single day.
Yeah.
Glass.
It really is everywhere, isn't it?
It is. And I bet you've never really thought about its incredible journey through history, science, and human ingenuity.
Yeah. It's funny. Glass is one of those things we just completely take for granted.
Totally.
Like, air or water.
Yeah,
It's always been there.
you don't think about it.
But the story of how we went from, just regular old sand to those incredible skyscrapers we see today,
Yeah.
it's absolutely fascinating.
So I've got our source material right here, The Definitive Guide to Glass.
Okay.
And it starts off talking about the origins of glassmaking and how it was probably a total accident.
It's amazing to think about, right? Like, thousands of years ago, somewhere in the Middle East, people were just experimenting with kilns for pottery and metallurgy.
Just messing around.
Yeah, just messing around, and then boom.
Boom, what
Yeah,
happened?
they create this strange, shiny, transparent substance.
Out of nowhere.
I mean, it must have seemed like magic to them.
Totally.
Right. I mean, how else would you explain it?
So how do you go from, like, playing with fire and clay to accidentally inventing glass?
Well,
What's the secret recipe?
the key ingredient, you might be surprised to learn, is actually incredibly common.
Okay.
It's silica,
Right.
which is found in sand.
No way.
But there's a catch.
Okay.
You need a few other things to make it work. Soda ash, for instance.
Okay.
That lowers the melting point of the silica, so it becomes workable.
Okay, so it's not just sand.
Right.
What does the soda ash do? How does that work?
Okay, so it gets a little technical here. But essentially, the soda ash kind of disrupts the strong bonds between those silica molecules, allowing them to move more freely
Okay.
and then melt at a much lower temperature.
Got it.
Otherwise, you would need a massively hot fire
Yeah.
just to even get the sand to budge.
To do any.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay, soda ash, got it. And then there's lime, right?
Oh, absolutely.
The book mentions that.
Lime is essential.
What does that do?
Well, lime acts as a stabilizer.
Okay.
It prevents the glass from dissolving in water
Oh, wow.
and makes it much more durable.
So that's important.
Otherwise, all your beautiful glass creations would just melt away in the rain.
Oh, no.
Not ideal, right?
So we've got sand, fire, the chemistry know-how.
Yeah.
What did our ancestors actually do with this new material once they, figured it out?
Well, at first,
Yeah.
it was all about small decorative objects.
Okay.
Beads, amulets, small vessel.
Uh-huh.
The Egyptians, in particular, they were fascinated by glass.
Really?
Oh, yeah. They saw it as a symbol of wealth and status.
Interesting.
Probably because it was so difficult and time-consuming to produce back then.
Yeah, makes sense.
It was rare and valuable.
So the book describes this early Egyptian technique called core forming. It sounds incredibly intricate.
It was.
So how did it work?
Okay, picture this. They would take a core, often made of clay,
Okay.
or sometimes even, dung.
Wow.
And they would carefully shape molten glass around it. While it was still hot, they decorate the surface.
They'd add like colors and things.
Yeah, all kinds of intricate patterns and design.
Wow.
But it was super limiting in terms of size.
So if you wanted a large glass object, you were out of luck.
Pretty much.
Really?
Yeah, the core forming technique just wasn't suitable for creating anything big.
Wow. That's a big limitation.
It was, but that all changed with the arrival of the Romans
Oh, the Romans.
and their groundbreaking invention,
Oh, is that?
the blow and blow technique.
Blow and blow. That sounds almost musical.
It's kind of catchy, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it was a real stroke of genius.
So how did it work?
Okay, so a glass blower would use a long hollow tube called a blowpipe
Like-
to gather a blob of that molten glass
Uh-huh.
and then get this. What?
They would literally blow into the pipe,
No way!
inflating the glass like a balloon.
Wow.
And shaping it with tools as they went.
So instead of painstakingly shaping the glass around a core, they were essentially inflating it from the inside out.
Exactly.
That's brilliant.
It really
That's
was.
so much more efficient.
Oh, yeah. This new technique was much faster and more efficient, allowing them to create larger,
Okay.
thinner,
Yeah.
and much more complex shapes.
So it really was a game changer.
Completely revolutionized glassmaking.
And I'm guessing this new technique also made glass a lot more accessible
You got.
to everyday people.
Absolutely. Blow and blow technique allowed for the mass production of glassware,
Wow.
making it affordable for pretty much everyone.
That's huge.
It was suddenly glass wasn't just for the wealthy elite anymore.
Right.
It was being used for everything,
Yeah.
from drinking vessels to
It does.
to
Glass windows back then.
far back as the Roman Empire.
That's incredible. It is, isn't it?
It's like hard to imagine what a difference that must have made.
It was a huge leap forward.
Yeah.
Not only did glass windows let in light
Uh-huh.
and offer protection from the elements,
Yeah,
but they also fundamentally changed the way people experienced their homes and buildings.
I bet.
Imagine going from dark and drafty spaces to ones filled with natural light.
Totally.
It must have been amazing.
This is all so fascinating.
I know, right?
And we're just getting started.
We are.
I mean, we've gone from sand to accidental discoveries, to ancient Egyptians crafting beads, to Romans blowing glass into everyday objects.
Yeah, and we're just scratching the surface here.
What an amazing journey.
It really is.
And that's just the beginning.
Oh, there's so much more to explore.
Oh, I can't wait to dive deeper into all those other topics.
Me too.
I'm already amazed by how much history and ingenuity is packed into something as seemingly simple as glass.
You know, it really makes you appreciate the everyday things we often take for granted.
It really does. So before we jumped into all the amazing ways we use glass today, we were traveling through time tracing the evolution of glassmaking.
Yeah, it's quite the journey, isn't it?
We left off with the Romans and their game-changing blow-and-blow technique. Where does the story go from there?
Well, even though the Roman Empire declined their glassmaking legacy, well, it lived on,
It did.
during the Middle Ages and the Renaissance.
Uh-huh.
We see this really fascinating combination of continuity
Okay.
and innovation in the world of glass.
Kind of innovation.
Well, one of the biggest advancements was the development of the glass furnace.
A furnace.
Yeah.
So what did that do?
That allowed for much more precise control over temperature.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was huge. I mean, it led to significant improvements in the quality and clarity of the glass.
So up until then, it was all about trial and error with the heat.
Pretty much.
I bet that was pretty frustrating for those early glassmakers.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
Just like, too hot.
Another batch ruined.
Yeah.
Start over. But with the glass furnace, they could finally produce large quantities of clear, colorless glass.
Huh.
Something that was incredibly difficult before that.
That makes me think about those incredible stained glass windows in Gothic cathedrals.
Oh, yeah.
They were created during the Middle Ages, right?
They were.
How did they achieve those vibrant colors if they were just starting to figure out clear glass?
That's a great question. So stained glass is a bit of a different beast.
Okay.
It involves a much more intricate process where large sheets of glass were made,
Okay.
then cut into those smaller pieces
Yeah.
and painted with metallic oxides
Ah,
to create those rich hues.
I see.
And then those pieces were carefully assembled using lead strips and soldered together.
So it's like a puzzle almost.
Yeah, kind of like a giant glass puzzle.
And they'd have to be so careful not to break anything.
Oh, absolutely. It was a real combination of artistry and technical skill.
Yeah.
And, it wasn't just beauty.
Right.
Those windows actually served a practical purpose, too.
Yeah, what was that?
Well, those stunning displays of color and
Yeah.
served a dual purpose. They allowed light to flood into these massive structures, but they also depicted biblical scenes for those who couldn't read.
Oh, wow.
Imagine how powerful that must have been at the time.
Yeah.
To see those stories come to life in such a vibrant way.
It's amazing how something as seemingly simple as a window could become such a powerful storytelling medium.
It really speaks to the versatility of glass, doesn't it?
It does.
But speaking of versatility,
Yeah.
this period also saw the development of new types of glass
Okay.
with specific properties.
Like what?
Well, for example, lead glass.
Okay.
With its high refractive index.
What's that?
It basically means it bends light in a really cool way.
Mm-hmm.
It gave glassware this brilliance and sparkle that was highly prized.
Lead glass. Isn't that what we call crystal today?
It is.
So we can thank medieval alchemists for our fancy wine glasses.
In a way, yeah.
Though I imagine working with lead glass back then must have been pretty tricky.
Oh, it was. It's quite soft and has a tendency to crack, so shaping it was a real challenge. The results, they were stunning.
Yeah.
The way it refracts light, it just adds a touch of elegance and luxury.
I can picture those beautiful crystal chandeliers sparkling in a candlelit ballroom.
It's quite a sight, isn't it?
Yeah?
So we've got new furnaces, stained glass windows, fancy lead crystal.
What happens next in this glass-making adventure?
Did things stay relatively stable for a while? Not exactly. The next big shakeup came with the Industrial Revolution.
Oh, the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, this period saw just a massive acceleration in technological innovation.
Right.
And glassmaking was no exception.
Okay, I'm picturing factories and assembly lines now.
You got it.
Did glass production become more automated?
Absolutely. One of the key inventions of this period was the glass bottle machine.
A bottle machine.
Yeah, a machine that made bottles.
I bet that had a huge impact on all sorts of industries.
Oh, you're right. Suddenly, glass bottles could be produced super quickly and cheaply,
Okay.
making them a viable option for packaging all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Food and beverages, medicines, you name it.
Before that, what were people using?
Clay pots, would even animal bladders sometimes.
Oh,
It's
bladders.
not very appealing, right?
No, not really.
But glass was superior in so many ways. It's more hygienic.
Right.
Doesn't affect the taste of the contents.
Oh.
And it's transparent, so you
Right.
can see what's inside.
Yeah.
So it was a big win for everyone.
It's funny how something we take for granted today, like a glass bottle, represents such a significant technological leap.
It really does.
It makes you think.
It's a great reminder that progress is often incremental,
Yeah.
building upon previous discoveries and innovation.
Right.
And speaking of innovations, the Industrial Revolution also saw the rise of new types of glass
Okay.
with specialized properties.
But-
Well, for example, borosilicate glass.
Borosilicate glass.
Yeah, it was invented around this time. It's incredibly resistant to thermal shock.
Okay, what's thermal shock?
It basically means it can withstand sudden changes in temperature
Okay.
without cracking.
So it won't shatter if you pour boiling water into a cold glass.
Exactly.
So that's like super durable.
Yeah, it's tough stuff.
Wait a minute. Borosilicate glass, is that what Pyrex is made of?
That's right.
That's what my grandma uses for her baking.
Your grandma's trusty Pyrex bakeware.
Yes.
It's a testament to the durability and versatility of borosilicate glass.
Wow.
It's also highly resistant to chemical, which is why it's widely used in labs and for scientific equipment.
So it's good for both baking cookies and conducting experiments.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's amazing how this one accidental discovery thousands of years ago has led to such a wide range of applications.
I know, it's mind-blowing.
From kitchenware to cutting-edge scientific tools.
It really shows you the power of human ingenuity.
It really does.
And that brings us to the modern era,
Okay.
where we see glass being used in even more innovative and unexpected ways.
I'm ready to jump into the present. What's next on our glass-filled agenda?
Well, up next, we'll explore how glass has shaped modern architecture.
Okay.
From the soaring skyscrapers that define our city skylines to the energy-efficient windows that are becoming increasingly common in homes and buildings.
Sounds good. Let's get into it. All right, so we've journeyed from the accidental discovery of glass to mass production of bottles and even the invention of super tough bakeware.
It's quite a story, isn't it?
Now I'm ready to be wowed by the world of glass in architecture.
Get ready to be amazed because glass has truly transformed the way we design and experience buildings.
I can't wait.
From the grandeur of Gothic cathedrals to the sleekness of modern skyscrapers, it's hard to imagine architecture without it.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, where would we be without glass?
Back in caves, probably.
Pretty much.
So I'm thinking back to those early Roman windows we talked about. They were a pretty big deal at the time, weren't they?
Oh, they absolutely were.
Yeah.
Before that, people relied on openings in walls to let in light and air,
Yeah.
which meant very limited protection from the elements.
Right.
So glass windows really did revolutionize architecture.
How so?
Well, by providing natural light ventilation and a barrier against the weather all in one,
That's a big deal.
it was huge.
It must have felt like magic to suddenly have these transparent walls that could let in the sunshine while keeping out the rain and cold.
It's easy to overlook just how much of an impact something as simple as a window had
Right.
on the way people lived and interacted with their surroundings.
Cool.
And speaking of changing the way we experience space, we can't forget about stained glass
Oh, yeah.
and its role in those incredible Gothic cathedrals.
Those intricate, colorful windows are truly breathtaking.
They are.
I mean, they're more than just windows, right? They're works of art that tell stories.
Exact. Stained glass windows elevated architecture to a whole new level,
Yeah.
combining beauty, functionality, and symbolism.
So they were beautiful, they let in light, and they also had a deeper meaning.
Precisely. The vibrant colors and the scenes depicted in those windows were intended to inspire awe and reverence
Wow.
in those who entered the cathedral.
Powerful stuff.
It was.
And I remember reading that they also served as a way to teach biblical stories to those who couldn't read.
That's right.
It's fascinating how they use light and color to communicate such complex ideas.
It really is a testament to the creativity and the craftsmanship of those medieval artisans.
They really knew what they were doing.
They did. They understood not only the technical aspects of working with glass, but also the power of visual storytelling
Yeah.
and how to combine those two things to create something truly special.
So from functional Roman windows to the artistic splendor of stained glass, it seems like glass has always been pushing the boundaries of what's possible in architecture.
Absolutely. And that trend continued through the Renaissance and Baroque periods.
Really?
Large windows became a symbol of wealth and status, allowing for more natural light and creating a sense of openness and grandeur in palaces and grand estates.
I can picture those lavish rooms filled with sunlight reflecting off polished marble floors.
Exactly. It was all about creating a sense of opulence and connection with the outdoor.
Sounds lovely.
It was. And then in the late 19th century, with the development of steel frame construction,
Okay.
we enter the age of the skyscraper.
And glass becomes the defining material for these towering structures that dominate our city skyline.
It's the perfect material for skyscrapers.
Why is that?
Well, glass is strong. It's lightweight, it's transparent, and it can be mass produced.
Yeah.
It allows for incredible views, floods interiors with natural light, and creates a sense of modern elegance.
It's amazing to think that those towering glass skyscrapers wouldn't be possible without all the innovations that came before.
I know, it's quite a thought, isn't it?
Like the blow and blow technique to the development of float glass, which allows for the production of large, perfectly flat sheets.
It's a great reminder that progress is often built on the foundations of the past.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But of course, with the rise of glass in construction comes the question of its environmental impact.
That's a valid concern. Glass production is energy intensive,
Yeah.
and the extraction of raw materials like sand can have environmental consequences.
Right, it's important to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
But it's also important to remember that glass is 100% recyclable
Well, that's good.
and can be reused endlessly without losing its quality.
So that's a big plus.
It is. It makes it a far more sustainable option than many other building materials out there.
Okay, so it's about finding a balance between utilizing its incredible properties and minimizing its environmental footprint.
Exactly.
And hopefully we can continue to improve on that front.
Well, there's a lot of exciting research happening in that area.
Oh, really?
From exploring new ways to produce glass using less energy
Okay.
to incorporating recycled glass into new products.
Yeah.
So the future is looking bright for sustainable glass.
That's encouraging. It sounds like the future of glass and architecture is all about innovation and sustainability.
I think that's a great way to put it.
Wow. We've covered so much ground in this deep dive, from ancient beads to futuristic flexible glass.
It's been quite a journey, hasn't it?
It's truly amazing to think about how something as seemingly simple as glass has had such a profound impact on human history, culture, and technology.
It's a reminder that even the most everyday materials have extraordinary stories to tell.
And it makes you appreciate the ingenuity and creativity that have gone into shaping the world around us.
Absolutely.
Well said.
Yeah.
I know I'll never look at a window, a bottle, or even my smartphone screen the same way again.
And if you're eager to delve even deeper into this fascinating world, be sure to check out The Definitive Guide to Glass.
Yes.
Available on Amazon Kindle and Google Play Books. It's a treasure trove of information.
Yeah, it really is.
And a testament to the enduring legacy of this remarkable material.
Well, that's all for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us on this exploration of the world of glass.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll catch you next time for another fascinating journey of discovery.